You know the vibes. Welcome back to another on a solo one. Couldn't give a damn if I don't know no one. On a solo one.
Couldn't give a damn if I don't know no one.
Word to J Huss. Another solo episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. See, BJ's not here today again. I can do foolishness like this. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K25. God, I can't even get my words out. It's Mooncey. And the Celtics have stayed alive. You can tell I'm in a good mood, didn't it? Gave you a little 2-2 bars there. Word to J Huss. If you're American and listening and you don't know what I'm talking about, go on Spotify or YouTube or type in J, the letter J, H-U-S. Greatest artist in the world. I promise you. Anyway, we're going to talk about the playoffs. The Boston Celtics saved themselves from elimination, even though Jason Tatum wasn't there tonight. Okay? The Minnesota Timberwolves advanced to the conference finals, eliminating the Golden State Warriors. We're going to break down tonight's game, which is going to be Denver Nuggets and the OKC Thunder, as the Thunder have a chance to advance into the next round in Game 6. The NBA playoffs, you got to love them. You got to love them. 1 second, gang. Another solo episode today. I've got to do this for the people. I actually really want to say thank you to all of you guys because I got so much love after yesterday's episode. I really thought that you wouldn't really be too pressed about me listening to a 30-minute monologue of myself speaking. But some of you guys enjoyed it, so we're going to do it again. And don't worry, we're going to have guests back on the show. We're going to have the vibes increasing. Don't worry about that. But it's a random Thursday morning at 5:43 a.m. So I'm going to just do this show real quick. It might not even be a full half hour. Sorry for you guys who like the half hour show. But let's talk about it. The Boston Celtics. My Boston Celtics. They stayed alive. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was a dominant win. 127-102. The Boston Celtics. I'm not going to lie though. This win doesn't fuel me with confidence for Game 6. The reason being, when a star of Tatum's magnitude goes out injured, it was almost kind of impossible for the Knicks to game plan for what the Celtics would play like without Jason Tatum, because Jason Tatum is one of the most durable stars in the NBA and he barely ever misses games. I think in the last 2 years he missed 10 games total, or 11 if you include the one in the series with Orlando. So it was a tough night for the Knicks because they didn't really know what the direction would be. Is it just going to be a lot of Jaylen Brown isolation stuff, so on and so forth? The Celtics did a fantastic job. They had a lot more from just the eye test. I need to rewatch the game, but it looked from the eye test, they had a lot more structure in their offense rather than what we talked about yesterday. The dribble, pull up and shoot a three. They had a much better offense. Tonight, they did take 49 3-pointers, but it didn't feel, in the flow of the game, it didn't feel like they were forcing it so much. And there were rare chances, rare opportunities that I saw them turn down a three in order for an easy look in the paint. And the difference in this and some of the games they lost is guys like Drew Holiday, they were making their shots in the paint at the basket. I've seen like the Celtics miss so many easy layups in this series. Tonight it was nice for them to actually make some of them. Great performance from everyone on these Celtics, with the exception of Mr. Kristaps Porzingis. Now Kristaps is like a luxury player to have. You know, they were without him for most of last year's playoff run. He comes in, comes off the bench, does his thing on mismatches, turnaround jumpers in the post, face up jumper over a smaller defender. Cool. However, this season he's been absolutely abysmal. Kristaps Porzingis, he has a mystery illness. We don't know what the illness is, but whatever it is, it has severely disrupted his play. He was 0 of 3 from the field tonight. And if I pull up his game log throughout the playoffs so far, and we really look at it, 0 of 3 from the field tonight, and he was 0 of 2 from the 3-point line, 0 of 2 in the last game, 0 of 2 the game before, 1 of 1 the game before, 0 of 0 in the first game, right? So throughout this series, he made 1 3-pointer. And think back to last year, Porzingis' ability to shoot not just 3-pointers, but ridiculously deep 3-pointers. A lot of the pick and pop stuff has been taken away. And some of that is by design by this Knicks defense who have now started switching on him so they don't get the easy automatic pick and pops. But a lot of it has to do with his health, because in the Orlando series, he made 2 3-pointers in that entire series. And, this is not ideal for a player of Porzingis because he's not a big body player. As BJ likes to remind us, he's a tall player. He's not a big player. And what I mean by that is if his jump shot's not falling, he's not one of those guys who's just going to go down low to the box and just start banging. And as Chuck said, that's not my words, that's Chuck said, banging and banging. He's not just going to start posting guys up like that. That's not really in his game. So it has been a real struggle here for Kristaps Porzingis. However, okay, I want to give the flowers. I want to give a whole bouquet of flowers to Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett, let me read you his stat line. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 7 blocks for Luke Cornett. Just think about that. Off the bench, 7 blocks in 25 minutes. He had an outstanding performance. He shot 100% from the field. Now, the Celtics were led by Derek White. 7 of 13 from downtown. He was shooting the lights out of the ball, 34 points. Jaylen Brown had 26 points. I don't care about the 26 points. It's the 12 assists. He took that playmaking responsibility. Jason Tatum has become such a great playmaker. Jaylen Brown took that upon himself and said, I'm going to get all of my guys involved tonight. Peyton Pritchard, 17 off the bench. We love to see it. Drew Holiday gave them double digits as well. Al Horford gave them double digits. It was a great performance from the Boston Celtics. I really liked what I saw. However, the Knicks will be better prepared for Game 6. And the pressure is on because don't let me dream. Don't let me think about if the Celtics win Game 6 and force a Game 6. Don't let me do that. The pressure is on the Knicks. They've got to close this out at home. They will be well prepared. Jalen Brunson actually only played 32 minutes, mainly because he fouled out with about 6 minutes left to go in the fourth. Here's something with Jalen Brunson, right? Jalen Brunson is great at drawing fouls. He's fantastic at it. And I'm not trying to discredit Jalen Brunson. Okay, it's a skill now. It's a skill. We talk about it with Shea. We talk about it with Brunson. Cool, he initiates the contact, or he'll be running and he'll stop and get a defender to run into him. Whatever you want to call it, right? He's found a little loophole to draw those fouls. Fantastic. It works great for him. However, now, the defenders, you can see, they're not falling for it now. They're guarding with their hands up. And now what he does, and you saw it like 6 times in the game, he just steps into their foot and falls over. And they get called for a foul. There was one in particular on Al Horford, I think they even challenged it, where Al Horford is actually defending perfectly. There's nothing he can do. But because Jalen Brunson steps on his foot and falls away, it's a foul. I don't know what you can do as a defender anymore in the NBA. Even though it's more physicality now in the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know. But karma came around and he fouled out of the game. When they were planning to make their last minute run as they do against the Boston Celtics. So that's just something to keep an eye on. It's going to get me killed in the comment section by the Knicks fans, but we got to get it popping. Let me talk about the Celtics 3-point shooting again, because yesterday I talked about it and I told my editor to make a clip for Instagram and it didn't come out properly. So I'm going to redo it here. And so if you missed yesterday's episode, here you go. But I'm going to add some more info that I didn't talk about. The Celtics offense, right? Everyone talks that. In fact, let me start that again. The Celtics offense, everyone talks about they shoot too many threes. In fact, I have no problem with the amount of threes they shoot. My problem is with the way in which they generate those 3-pointers. Okay, now if you're moving the basketball, you're driving into the paint because they're worried about you scoring at the rim, then the defense collapses, you spray to the corners, you move the basketball, swing, find the open shooter, pass up a good shot for a great shot, shoot all the threes you want. You could shoot 100 of them if you could manufacture 100 of them. The problem I have is stand still, dribble, pull up, 3-pointer, over a defender, brick. That's the one I have a problem with. And the Celtics, the difference between them this year and last year is where the 3-pointers are coming from. A lot more of their 3-pointers this season in the playoffs are coming from above the break. right? So the top half of the 3-point line, if you didn't know. Whereas last season, they were getting more from the corner. Last season, they also shot more efficiently from the corner because they were shooting more catch and shoot attempts rather than off the dribble attempts. And these are the optimal ones. The corner three is the best shot in the NBA because it's the shortest distance between the 3-point line and the hoop. But it's the way the Celtics manufacture their threes. If they can get the ball moving, they can get off-ball movement. They can get drive and kick action. They spray the ball around. Perfect. If we're going to watch Tatum and Brown dribble 7 times and then take a pull-up 3 over defenders, then I ain't trying to see that. So I just had to get that clip out. Do you know what I'm saying, gang? But that's my philosophy with it. And you saw a lot better ball movement in the game for the Boston Celtics. They made 44 field goals and 27 of them were assisted. If you compare that to the Knicks, who only assisted on 17 of their 29 made field goals. The Celtics did shoot the lights out, though, 44.9% from behind the arc. It was great. Game 6, I'm fully anticipating a Knicks win, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself. However, this is the NBA. Crazy things happen in the NBA. So let's talk about the Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I feel bad for the Warriors. You know, obviously the Celtics without Tatum, his injury, and the Warriors now without Stephen Curry, eliminated without Steph. And I really thought that this year would be the year that the Warriors could do something because, you know, we talk about mid-season trades and players needing time to settle in and teams need time to gel. But because the way Steph Curry plays, it's so easy for guys to fit into a team around him. So you see, like, Andrew Wiggins played the best basketball of his career with Stephen Curry. Kevin Durant came and won championships with Stephen Curry. All these guys can just come into this team and they can just play their way. But without Stephen Curry, you can see that this team does have a lot of flaws. Namely, Jimmy Butler, 4 of 11 from the field, 0 of 3 from downtown, only 17 points for playoff Jimmy. I know he's picked up like a bruise somewhere. I don't know where, but he's picked up a bruise and he's not himself. But come on, playoff Jimmy, you're the tough guy. You got to do better than that. Pajemski stepped up for them, 28 points, and Kuminga finally unleashed off the bench, 26 points in that one. He was really kind of powering the offense for a lot of it. His agent will be happy coming up to negotiations this summer in the final game that they had. He actually showed out what he can do. But let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I want to talk about the old man in the room, Mr. Mike Conley. 16 points, 8 assists. Not a huge stat line, right? But 4 of 6 from downtown, 5 of 7 from the field. There was a stretch in this game where the teams were going back and forth and you really needed the veteran presence of Mike Conley to kind of settle the team down. That's what an experienced player does. That's what veterans bring to your team. And we saw Mike Conley hit a couple great 3-point shots. And then in the second quarter, the Minnesota Timberwolves turned a 3-point game into a 15-point game real quick. And they never managed to kind of fully kill off the Warriors until the final buzzer, but it was there. The game was pretty much won in that second quarter. Before I get to that, let me also do this. 29 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, Julius Randle. Now, a lot of you guys, not you guys who listen to the show, because if you listen to the show, you know about basketball, but a lot of people on the internet, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, they don't like Julius Randle. They say he's a ball hog, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. Julius Randle is a very good basketball player. And for someone who's a ball hog, apparently, he ain't doing that in Minnesota. He's really bought into this team. He's playing fantastic basketball, especially since he's come back from injury. The Timberwolves have been a completely different team. He's been fantastic. He was 13 of 18 from the field today. He's a very physical presence that the other team has to deal with. And for all the critics of Julius Randle, you would think that going up against someone like Draymond Green, one of the best defenders we've ever seen in the NBA, would actually be a really tough matchup for him. But Julius Randle has been a dominant force, led the Timberwolves in scoring today. He was fantastic. He's been fantastic against the Warriors. He's been fantastic against the Lakers. We're going to have to see he's fantastic in the next round. But speaking of the next round, I am worried about the Timberwolves, because they had 20 turnovers in tonight's game. Now, you can get away with it against the short-handed Golden State Warriors team. But if you're going to go up against the OKC Thunder now in the next game, in the next round, and we'll talk about that series as well. They had 20 turnovers tonight. They had 19 turnovers in the game before. They had 19 turnovers in the game before that. They've been turning the ball over a whole lot. And that is an issue That's a big issue. Obviously, credit to the Golden State defense as well, which has been one of the best defenses in the league since they got Jimmy Butler. But that does concern me as I'm looking ahead to a potential matchup in the next round. There's not too much to kind of break down from this series because with Steph Curry on the court, this looks very different to Minnesota winning in 5 with Steph missing 4 of those games. So I'm not going to go in depth on that. Congratulations to the Timberwolves. Unlucky to the Golden State Warriors. Rudy Gobert as well tonight, 17 points, 8 rebounds. He did his thing. And Edwards, of course, he had 22 points, but he did have 7 turnovers. His handle didn't look as sharp and as tight as it usually does. Maybe that's because you kind of relax a little bit when you're up 3-1. Like the Knicks, I feel like they kind of relaxed being up 3-1. They got 3 chances at advancing. Same thing, I think, maybe with Anthony Edwards, but he ain't gonna relax anymore. If you're watching on video and I keep scratching my face, it's because when the sun comes up, that's when my hay fever begins. So I'm about to sneeze and I'm really trying not to. But let's talk about tonight's Game 6. OKC are up 3-2 on the Denver Nuggets, and they will be traveling to the Mile High City to face Nikola Jokic. This was a very interesting Game 5. OKC played very well down the stretch. The Nuggets actually held leads in the fourth quarter for 2 straight games against the Nuggets, and they lost both leads and both games. They're going to have to be clinical here, facing elimination, trying to force that Game 7. And, you know, when you're looking at this Nuggets team, you know what Jokic is going to do. Well, I say that. He ain't really been himself in this series, I want to say. Not that he's not been great. He has been fantastic. However, he's yet to have a game with more than 6 assists. He had 6 assists, 6 assists, 6 assists, 3 assists, and 5 assists. Obviously, assists are conditional upon your teammates making the shots. However, he's a guy who averages around 10 assists. The OKC Thunder's defense is to be credited for that. They were a fantastic defensive team. And if they turn up the defense like they did down the stretch in the fourth quarter in the last game, which, by the way, you have to go and re-watch that last game to truly appreciate Shea and Jokic and everything that went on down the stretch. But the OKC defense has been really good. I feel kind of bad for Jokic because a lot of this just depends on which version of his teammates turn up. Do you know what I mean? Is Michael Porter Jr. going to be hitting shots? Is Jamal Murray going to be playoff Jamal Murray that we all know and love? What kind of game is Russell Westbrook going to have? We know he's going to bring the intensity, but what about the efficiency? So it's going to be interesting. The OKC Thunder now have a chance to close out the team who won a championship just 2 years ago. This will be a pivotal step in their growth and development. So it's going to be an interesting Game 6. I'm going to pick... See, usually when I have someone else on the show, I can ask them who they're going to pick. And then while they're talking, I can just not listen and think about what I'm going to pick next. But now I have to do it in real time. I'm going to pick the OKC Thunder in this one. Or am I? No, because Denver at home. No, we're getting a Game 7. We're getting a Game 7. You can see the cogs in my brain working as I think this through. We need a Game 7 of this, and we need a Game 7 of Celtics Knicks in Boston. That's what we need. Oh, because if this goes to a Game 7, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be at 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday, which will be absolutely beautiful. And then the Game 7 for the Celtics will be on Monday night. But yeah, I want Denver to win this one, extend it to a Game 7. I think that will be absolute cinema. I think as well, okay, if I'm the scriptwriter now for the NBA, I'm assuming they're going to announce the MVP tonight. It's a Thursday. I'm assuming they're going to announce the MVP tonight. But if the Nuggets won today, and then, like back in the day when they used to announce and award the MVP trophy on the court, you ever seen the games where David Robinson got the MVP trophy and Hakeem Olajuwon was just looking at him like, that should be mine. And he just went there and just completely destroyed him. That's what I want to happen. Before Game 7, they should hold off on the MVP announcement, see if there's a Game 7. Because realistically, I think Shea's going to win. Okay. But if there's a Game 7, announce it on the court at the start of the game. Do the national anthem and then tell us who won MVP, Shea or Jokic. And then both guys, both MVP candidates, both teams in a Game 7, do or die. They could go. Like Game 7 is already on 100, but announcing the MVP at Game 7 will be taking it to 200. You're taking it there. It's going to be crazy, but they're not going to do it. They should listen to me. That's how I would personally announce it, or just announce it before the playoffs begin, because it's a regular season award. Because what happens now, if the Nuggets win the series and Shea wins MVP, everyone's going to have a thing or two to say, not realizing it's not a playoff award. But that's a little tangent on MVP. That's another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. I appreciate you guys who are still here, still rocking. You've got a lot more on the way. I think there are no games on Saturday as well, so I'm going to have a rare Saturday night off. If anyone's got any suggestions, shout your boy. But all jokes aside, it was a great night of basketball. Two really interesting matchups. Tonight, the Nuggets and Thunder is going to be must-see TV. You don't want to miss that one. And Friday night will be Game 6, Celtics Knicks in Madison Square Garden. All the Knicks fans are saying they just wanted to win it at home. I don't know. The one thing that I've learned, in all my experience talking to the greatest basketball minds in the world, you don't ever want to play with your food. Play with your food too long, it's going to get cold. Things like that just sound cooler when someone says it in an American accent. But here we are. Yeah. Game 6 must win for the Knicks. Game 6 must win for the Denver Nuggets tonight. They're facing elimination. Man, I'm just rambling. 6 a.m. Thank you guys for listening. Subscribe to the show. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts from. And most importantly, until next time, get buckets.